Okay, good morning. Jeff Light here with our daily look behind the news from the UT Newsroom. This morning we're speaking with Immigration and Federal Courts writer Christina Davis. Christina, you've been following the Trump administration's efforts to reunify the children who have been separated in the immigration detention process in Judge Sabraw's court. There's another hearing today. The judge's deadline for the government to reunify all the children, I believe, is Thursday. So help me out. Where are we in this whole process, and then what's happening today?
Okay, so where are we in the process? The government put out a status report yesterday afternoon that kind of said where they're at, and I think they've identified about 2,500 children who have been separated in this whole process who might be eligible for reunification. And they said, as of yesterday, around 1,100 reunifications have happened. So that's like about half-ish, right?
Yeah, and there's 2 days left.
2 days left. Clearly, we're not going to reunite everyone in the next 2 days. And that, although what I have seen is the numbers, those numbers I think are about a day behind, though, too. So those are probably as of, Sunday, let's say. I have seen big leaps in 24-hour periods, big chunks of families being reunited every 24 hours. So that number will be pretty high. I think a lot of the problems that they're going to run into, and the judge has kind of acknowledged that, hey, we're not going to get every single last child reunited by Thursday, is a significant number of parents have been deported already.
Right.
Before this court got involved, right? So in the past few months, they were deported. I think that number is around 400 now, that count. So the judge has said that they're going to really work on those reunifications after Thursday. And then there's another group, I think it's in the 80s, who have been found with serious criminal records, or they have diseases or something like that,
so
they
can't
be reunited.
Being put basically in foster care like they would if they were citizens.
Sure. And then, there's another large group of people who are, they're in immigration proceedings, these parents, but they've been released over the past several months out into the community. So, they have to reconnect and find those people and get them with their children. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the final count is on Thursday. How many are actually reunited? So
it seems like we're going to come to the end of at least this window, and there's going to be kids left over.
Yes.
We're holding on to scores, if not hundreds of children. We don't know where their parents are.
Correct.
Wow, that's a little troubling.
Yeah.
And what are the judge's options at that point? What are his powers? And what's the government's recourse? Sure.
So the judge could hold the government in contempt of court, right, or something. He could give them different punishments, huge fines. Let's say he could say something like, we're going to fine the government $5,000 for every child that's not reunited by the deadline, or some, per day, or something like that. I don't know that he's going to do anything like that, though. I think everyone kind of realizes that this has been a massive effort. He's said in previous hearings that he is optimistic about the progress that's being made, and he does feel like the government's acting in good faith.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the government has not challenged his basic order, right? They said, instead of appealing, they said, we're going to try to comply, and they're racing toward this deadline. Now, I think is going to be the next test of both sides, right? What happens come Thursday when there are still scores unresolved, and what does the government do about whatever sanctions the judge may put in place? So
we've been through this a little bit before. Earlier this month, there was a deadline for the really young kids to get them reunited, and that was its own hard deadline, July 10th, I believe. And the government did not get everyone because of the reasons I just said. It's the same with that young group of kids. They had some parents who were deported and everything. And the judge did ask the ACLU, who's representing all these families, what kind of sanctions do you think would be appropriate? Do you think sanctions should be imposed? And the ACLU did list out some things that weren't really punitive, but they were more some guidelines and deadlines and things like that that would just help keep the process even closer on track.
Interesting. And did the judge accept those?
The judge accepted most of those, yeah.
Huh.
One of the interesting sanctions that the ACLU asked for that hasn't really been resolved yet. I think they're just trying to get through Thursday. But the ACLU wants the government to set up a fund for these children who have been separated to help them with
very
mental
interesting.
health counseling
Yeah.
and things like that.
Ooh, that would be very interesting to look at in the next couple
Right,
of
and
days.
it's not really a punitive sanction, but
No.
they see the money going to the kids, and the judge didn't really address that yet. And
Interesting.
he may. I would think after Thursday there'll be a lot of these other leftover issues.
Yeah, it would be interesting to revisit that whole slate of suggestions from the plaintiff side and anything they might be willing to volunteer, although I don't know how forthcoming they are with all this pending. Okay, so then today in court there are some narrower issues. What do we expect today?
Right. So over the weekend, both sides have been meeting and trying to work out this issue of you've got parents who have final orders of removal, which basically means their whole immigration process is done. They're sitting in ICE custody, basically waiting to cross the border and go back home and be sent back home. And being reunited with their children. And the ACLU is arguing that these families should have 7 days after they've been reunited to meet with a lawyer, to meet with a child advocate that has been working with the child while they were in separation, to figure out what's the best option for the family. Does the child have some kind of separate immigration claim or asylum claim that maybe is valid that the parent doesn't have? That something that would maybe make it best for the child to stay in the U.S. and fight the immigration case, and the parent to go back to Central America without their child. And like I said, the ACLU wants this 7-day window for this. The government says they've been doing a 48-hour window right now, and they say that should be enough. And the judge has basically halted all deportations for the past week until this can be decided further. So today is when he's going to decide whether there should be a rule going forward, or or the 48 hours is enough.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else we should know? I know this is a very complex.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. No, I think that's it. I think the judge will hopefully be ruling today on that deportation waiting period. And we'll probably get even more updated numbers today.
Yeah, super interesting. I think the next few days, though, are going to be time of accelerating news on both sides of this. So, okay, if you've got questions about this topic, reach out to Christina. There's a lot going on, and I think people both have a high level of interest and pretty deep opinions about this, but also a lot of confusion. So Christina can help try to sort through that for us. And with that, we'll be back here tomorrow to see how this is all going. Thanks.